Joni Lamb, the co-founder of the Daystar television network, one of the largest Christian TV networks in the entire world, passed away on May 7, 2026. She was 65 years old, and she had been dealing quietly with health issues that suddenly got much worse after a back injury. She chose to face it all privately, with her faith and her family around her, and she passed away at home in Bedford, Texas. Now, if you watched Daystar or ever caught Joni Table Talk on television, you already know how much she meant to so many people. She built that network from the ground up with her late husband Marcus. She hosted that show every single weekday for decades. She wrote books, she sang, she poured her whole heart into her ministry for over 40 years. When she died, tributes came in from all over the world. But here's the part of the story that nobody was quite prepared for. On the very same day that Joni died, May 7th, her daughter-in-law, Joni Lamb, who is married to Joni's son Jonathan, went onto social media and said something that stopped people in their tracks. She said that Jonathan was not called to come say goodbye to his mother. Let that land for a second. Susie wrote, replying publicly to a post about Joni's death, "Thank you, we weren't informed of anything. We were down the road, but weren't given a call to say goodbye. We forgive them. Thank you for praying for Jonathan." And then she added, "They knew she was dying yesterday evening, and they didn't call Jonathan to come say goodbye. Down the road. They were literally down the road, and nobody called." Now, I want to be careful here, because this is complicated family territory, and there are two sides to every story. Jonathan and Susie had been estranged from Joni for a couple of years, after a very painful and very public family dispute that I won't go into fully, but it involved serious allegations, Jonathan being let go from his position at Daystar, a lot of public back and forth, and the kind of deep family fracture that doesn't heal quickly or easily. It was messy. It was real, and it clearly had not been resolved by the time Joni passed away. One person who commented on Susie's social media noted that it was actually a Daystar attorney, not any of the family, who eventually called Jonathan with the news of his mother's death. Not a sister, not a family friend, a lawyer. I don't know about you, but that detail just sat with me like a stone. Because whatever had happened between Jonathan and his mother, whatever the arguments and the hurt and the broken trust, he was still her son. He had grown up in that family. He had worked at Daystar for years. He had built his whole life inside this world that his parents created. And when his mother was in her last hours, no one thought to pick up the phone. And Susie's response? She said, "We forgive them, y'all." In the middle of her pain, in the middle of finding out from a stranger online that her mother-in-law had died, she said, "We forgive them." That is a level of grace that most of us would have to work very hard to get to. And she got there in real time, publicly, within hours of the worst news of her family's year. Days later, Susie posted a tribute on Instagram, a carousel of pictures of Joni and the family, writing, "Thank you for praying for our family. The pain is real. I deleted all the bad memories and cherished the good ones. So truly, thank you. God bless you for your heart for us." She deleted the bad memories. She chose the good ones. That is not a small thing. She also wrote, "I know people say, keep all this to yourself, don't make it public, but our story has been very public figures we are, and I hate when people only share their victories online while hiding the hard parts. I don't think that helps anyone." And she added, "Life has its mountain tops and valleys for everyone, and I'm sharing my heart to honor the memory of the woman I loved so much for so many years. The woman she loved so much. After everything. After the estrangement and the allegations and the lawsuits and the public fighting and not being called when Joni was dying, she still described her as the woman she loved so much for so many years. That's grief, isn't it? The real, complicated, non-Instagram friendly kind. The kind where love and hurt and anger and forgiveness all exist in the same breath. The kind where you can be furious that your husband didn't get to say goodbye to his mother and still choose to remember the good. Susie had also reportedly been hoping for a miracle reconciliation before her mother-in-law's death. She wanted things to be healed. She wanted the story to end differently. And instead it ended with a phone call from a lawyer. I keep coming back to this story because it feels like something so many of us can relate to in some way. Maybe not on this scale, not with television networks and public statements and cameras involved, But the core of it, the family rift that never got resolved, the goodbye that didn't happen the way it should have, the person you loved who left before you had the chance to fix things. Most of us have some version of that in our lives. A relationship that was never quite mended, a conversation that never happened, a door that stayed closed longer than it should have. And what Joni Lamb's words remind us, I think, is this. We don't always get to choose how the story ends, but we do get to choose what we hold on to after it does. The good memories, the forgiveness, the love that was real even when everything around it fell apart. That is not an easy choice, but it might be the most important one we ever make. So today, if there's someone in your life, a family member, an old friend, someone you've drifted from, maybe think about whether there's still time to make that call, because not everyone gets the luxury of distance when the moment comes.